Okay, so because I failed to do a Swati full moon reading on Beltane because it was Beltane when it dropped, I'm actually gonna do a last quarter moon reading for you guys, and then I'm gonna incorporate that with the Swati full moon just to see where we all are. Now, I'm gonna start with the Dhanishta, the last quarter moon first, because that's today as I'm filming this. That's gonna drop on at 10 p.m. British Summer Time tonight. And the lunar path number for this particular transit is the number 6. Now, what's interesting about this is that the number 6 is also a Venusian number. So all the Venusian energy that I talked about with the Swati, Beltane Swati full moon tarot reading on Empress Justice Tarot, all of that is still being carried on. Only with the Dhanishta last quarter moon, there's an emphasis on beauty. And not only is there an emphasis on beauty already, we are being advised to follow that. But with the last quarter moon in Dhanishta is also an emphasis on community. It's an emphasis on being with your people or being around your people or offering your people emotional support. It's not just about beauty and looking good, and it's not just about harmony. It's also about commitment and duty and responsibility. And today really reveals to so many of us that we have a duty and responsibility to one another in so many ways. Now, that might come out in different ways, it might manifest in different ways, but ultimately, Danish, the last quarter moon, is a reminder that we're all in this together. And we are also encouraged to take whatever pain we have, take whatever we have endured, alchemize that, and turn that into a way not only to heal ourselves, but to heal the people around us. Now, I'm going to get into the sun. No, I'm going to get into the moon and the ascendant of both Dhanishta and Swati so that we can compare and contrast and see where we are. Now, I've always said that placements within any given day is not an indicator of what's happening on the day. It's an indicator of what will happen in the future. Okay? Each placement, each astrological placement on each day is like a sounding board as to what will happen in the future rather than an indicator of what's happening right now. So with Dhanishta, last quarter moon, we have a square to the sun and Mercury, which is to be expected, especially with that quarter to the sun. Usually emotions and reasoning are having a little bit of a disagreement. Usually things are quite tense during this time. Not in a really significant way because it's like a normal square. That's what normally happens during first and last quarters. So we've got a moon squared the sun, which means there's tension between emotions and what we ultimately reason is going on with ourselves. And that's because Kritika in Aries is the sun. Okay, it's not Barony sun anymore, it's Kritika sun today. And what I found is that with both Dhanishta and Kritika, they both want to heal the world around them. Only where Kritika wants to cut out what's unhealthy so that it can become stronger, Dhanishta wants to alchemize whatever trauma has been left in the body. Because the body keeps the score, Dhanishta would rather alchemize it, whereas Kritika wants to cut it out. Now, our natural impulses during this time will be to try to cut out our trauma rather than incorporate our trauma and turn our trauma into something that can heal others. This is what I noticed that a lot of Dhanishta placements are extremely good at. They're extremely good at taking trauma or taking injustices and churning it within themselves and turning it into something that can heal themselves and other people. They're really, really good at that. Aaron Taylor Johnson, I think that's his name. Aaron Taylor Johnson has a Dhanishta placement. Hugh Jackman has Dhanishta placements. D'Angelo had Dhanishta placements in his chart. And we all know what D'Angelo was capable of doing. We all know what he brought to the table. He took all his pain and all his malaise and he turned it into something that was healing, like music that was healing for all of us to enjoy. He used his music and his physical being to kind of, it was like a healing balm not only for his fans, but for people hearing his music. So that is the power of Dhanishta. Dhanishta heals through physicality, right? So that is what we are encouraged to do during this last quarter moon. We're advised to follow Dhanishta's lead in becoming vessels of healing. So, you know, with that square to the sun, we might feel tempted not to go with our emotions. We might feel tempted to cut out the trauma that's been left behind. But Dhanishta asks us to take what we've learned from the past, learn from it, grow from it, and make the most of the situations that we're in, okay? Also, there is a square to Mercury, which means that, again, because Mercury is in Barony, and it's like, yeah, Dhanishta and Barony, they want to do the same thing, but they're doing it in different ways. With Barony, with both Barony and Dhanishta, they want to make a physical impact. But again, Dhanishta has a softer understanding of how to do that than Barony does. Barony wants to expose the truth, wants to, you know, and I know I have like a natural impulse to do that. Barony wants to expose the truth. It wants to control our emotions by reminding us of the truth and reminding us of our shortcomings so that we can actually forge ourselves with penance and with self-discipline. Like, you know, the whole point of Barony is to help us forge ourselves in discipline. And, well, you know, Dhanishta's over here like, is that really necessary? Like, if we just stop judging ourselves for how our bodies operate and we allow our bodies to speak and we allow our bodies to dictate what's going on, we are going to be much more effective at healing whatever's wrong with us. So what we're being asked to do is, instead of trying to control our emotions through our reasoning, the sun, and through our logic or reasoning, Mercury, we're being asked to let our emotions be what they are, follow the moon's lead, alchemize our hurt, rather than denying it, or rather than being insistent on correcting the hurt that's been caused. You know, I'm talking to myself as well as everybody else because I've been angry too. So let's get on with the trine to Margashirsha. I might just skip over to the Swati moon because it seems like we're running out of time already. So we've got a trine to Margashirsha Venus, which is Venus in Taurus. So there it is again, that beautiful Venusian energy, and it's more refined now because it's in Margashirsha. So there's an additional softness there. There's more emphasis on the body. There's more emphasis on expressing ourselves from our raw biological standpoint. And this goes for everybody. It doesn't matter what sex or gender you are. We express ourselves from our raw physicality. It comes out in the way that we talk, the way that we move. Like, we are more connected with our bodies essentially. And that has a positive effect on how we relate to one another relationship wise. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be soft. Like, Margashirsha is not not as soft as everybody thinks, but because of our deeper connection with our bodies, it may make us more grounded in our expression of love with the people that are closest to us. We are more likely to be open and curious and asking one another questions. So with that moon trining Venus, it's so beautiful. It's such beautiful energy. And we do well to make the most of that, because the moon in exalt is in Taurus, and the moon is trining a Taurus placement, Venus no less. So to make the most of this energy, this beautiful Venusian energy that is permeating this particular placement, we do very well to make the most of that. This is beautiful energy to work with for, you know, how we relate to other people, right? But there's something interesting going on here. We have the moon sextiling Mars in Revati, okay? So what that means is that when it comes to our physical expression and our physical being, the key towards, if you watch, hold on, I can't remember his name, the Hidden Octaves videos, right? he did a recent video on Ketu, and he talked about Venus. Now, Venus is an exalt in Revati, right? And ultimately what that's about, he said it, I've said it before, what Revati is ultimately about, oh, and Cleonati said it too. Ultimately what it's about is taking our flaws when it comes to how we defend ourselves, how we stand our ground, how we lay down our boundaries, taking what we believe to be our flaws and weaknesses and ultimately utilizing them as our strengths. That is ultimately what we are being asked to do with that, with that moon sextiling Revati Mars. We are inclined to do that, but we're just being inclined to do that a little bit more, like incorporate what we believe to be our shadow side when it comes to how we defend ourselves, how we stand our ground, how we lay down our boundaries. We're being asked to incorporate that into our physical being and how we alchemize our pain. So between Revati, which is a nakshatra that is in which Venus is in exalt, right? And Venus being in Margashirsha in Taurus, and the moon being in Dhanishta and trining Margashirsha and sextiling Revati, it really comes back to like how much beautiful Venusian energy there actually is. It's actually amazing how much Venusian energy there actually is just from the moon placements alone. I was going to do the ascendant, but I think because I want to hit 20 minutes, I'm going to move on to revisit the Swati moon, the Swati full moon, okay? Now, the effects of the Swati full moon, when it comes to the moon itself, there's a trine with Jupi, Punavasu, and this is where we have blessings related to the past, right? So not only do we heal ourselves from the past with Dhanishta's moon, with Swati, we already are enjoying blessings and the happiest lessons that we could have learned from our past. We're already kind of receiving that, right? And there's also a trine with Shatabisha Rahu, which means we are connected with our collective destiny as well. Each one of us are collectively understanding exactly where we stand in this society. Like we're beginning to understand where we stand in terms of the collective and in terms of this new age or this new dawn of not only technology, but also of community, of collective thinking. All of us are starting to understand our place within this new framework that actually started like, I think a couple of years ago. So we're beginning to really understand our place in this society, in this collective consciousness. We're starting to understand our place in a healthy way because of the moon being there, trining Shatabisha Rahu. And because Shatabisha is a Rahu dominant nakshatra, it's right at home in Rahu. So we may find that connecting with our destinies in this way, it might actually be healing for us as well. There's a lot of healing energy here to be observed with regards to the moon. The Beltane Swati moon, which happened on the 1st, right? But what's interesting here is that the moon in Swati was squared Shravana. Now it's important to understand that Swati and Shravana, they're achieving the same objectives, but in different ways, right? With Swati and Shravana, they both want to integrate themselves with people. Or rather, in this case, Swati and Shravana are actually doing the same things. They just have different reasons for doing it. It's like Swati and Shravana both have that soft power thing going on. They both know how to ingratiate themselves with other people in a way that feels easy and natural rather than forced. They know how to be polite to others. They know how to get others on their side. But whereas Swati wants to do it just for the sake of doing it and just for the sake of getting to know people and getting to know the world, Shravana has like a higher purpose as to why they're doing it. Ultimately, Shravana social climbs not for the sake of mere ambition, not for the sake of just getting ahead in the world, But Shravana gets to know people and climbs to the top of the ladder ultimately to do good in the world. That is Shravana at its highest expression. But there's a clash here. There is a clash here. Because while the collective want to get on and, get on with understanding society as it is, like just understanding it, we are naturally being called to apply our social knowledge and our understanding of the world for higher endeavors and for less selfish endeavors. But it's like we don't really want to do that. With this full moon in Swati, ever since this full moon in Swati landed on Beltane, we haven't really wanted to utilize our societal knowledge for the greater good like that. We just wanted to be a part of the world. And that clash between the moon and Pluto means that unconscious feelings have been coming out without our meaning to, right? And that can lead to a lot of problems as well. Like subconscious emotions can come out, which can lead to conflict, which can lead to oversensitivity. It can lead to secrets coming out as well. Shravana is in our collective fifth house. So there can be some clashes when it comes to relationships with younger people or the younger generation. There can be some secrets coming out with regards to love affairs, that type of stuff. So it's not all fine and dandy right now, but there is still a lot of soft energy that can be properly utilized with this full moon placement. Okay, now I covered that Critica Uranus with regards to the other reading that I did on Empress Justice Tarot. So I'm going to come back to Dhanishta now, right? I'm going to come back to Dhanishta, and to close out this video, I'm going to talk about the lunar path number in a little bit more detail. Okay, so the lunar path number of Dhanishta is 6. I talked about how that Venusian energy carries through right on into this particular last quarter moon. I already talked about that. Where it gets interesting is that it appears that we are supposed to focus on our beauty, focus on our duty, focus on our community, but not in the sense of doing it necessarily for other people. And I know I talked before about focusing on community and focusing on our part in the community. But what we're actually supposed to be doing is using that number 6 energy to build ourselves up, to build up our own vision, right? That is what we are meant to be doing. We're meant to be using that number 6 energy of beauty, of harmony, of duty, of responsibility. And we're meant to start with our own worlds first, so that we have a world upon which to invite other people. It's like we're supposed to create our own community. We're supposed to create our own sense of beauty. We're supposed to create our own sense of harmony, our own sense of home. This is where we are meant to do that, right? So that is why it's important for us to lean on that Venusian energy. Like when it came to Swati full moon, when it came to that Beltane full moon, we were asked to do that for the purpose, we were asked to connect with our broader intelligence for the purpose of doing good in the world and expressing ourselves. That's how we were meant to use our broad intelligence. But where we're meant to use our beauty, we are meant to come inward, and we are meant to use it to create our own vision, not create our own world necessarily. I've got to take that back. We're meant to use that to connect to our own vision of how our world should be and how our personality should be. And we're meant to do that so that we can at least invite partnerships into that world, meaningful partnerships into that world. Or at least we could bring a little piece of our world into the outside world and make it better that way, right? And incorporate teamwork into what we do. But, not quite yet. Like now is the time for us to focus on ourselves and our personal sense of beauty and our personal sense of responsibility, and to build our world from there. That's what we're meant to be doing with this Dhanishta last quarter moon placement. That's what it's about. It's not about building community in obvious ways. This is exactly what I was talking about before when I said it wasn't about being obvious. It was more about building our community, yes, but doing it from the ground up, meaning it has to start from ourselves and from within and from what we see for our own lives. Right now, it's got to be every man for himself. Temporarily, but it's got to be every man for himself. And it's all about alchemizing the negative rather than allowing it to consume us. That's where we find healing. And with regards to the Swati full moon, the Beltane full moon, the healing of our collective, of our collective roles in society, that's coming out. All of that is coming out. But what we need to watch out for is dictatorship. That's what we need to watch out for. Shatabishan could be a very dictatorial nakshatra. And we're already seeing political changes. So we really need to be careful about that. So collectively, we can be in touch with our destinies, which is a great thing, which is a healing thing. But then when it comes to the systems under which we operate, they may become more authoritarian. And that's something that we have to watch out for. Right? So, yeah, that was the Dhanishta last quarter moon and the Beltane Swati full moon reading. I am Empress Justice. I'll see you in the next video. Peace and blessings. Bye bye, my darlings.